everybody. My name is Jessica Holyfield, and I'm a professional dance choreographer and dance educator based out of the southeast of the United States. And we are here taking a look at a comeback from the BOYZ entitled VVV. We have a music video all pulled up. Good chance there's probably going to be a dance practice involved. This is technically their first comeback in a new company, so I have no idea what I'm going to be diving into here. At this point, I've marathoned their entire discography, seen them on Road to Kingdom Season 1 and Kingdom Legendary War, which helped prompt the marathon for the group, and I really have enjoyed seeing them pursue different sounds and being able to empathetically learn some of their choreography so I can understand some of the obstacles that you can encounter with some of the challenges that they've experienced, which has been really insightful. So I'm looking forward to getting started and taking a look at this. Special shout out as always to Mano, who M-A-O-N-O. They are the ones who have supplied my mic. So if you hear me and you're like, wow, Jess, you sound so crystal clear, I understand everything you're saying, then you can go check out the link and get one of your own so you can sound really cool in your Zoom call meeting. So let's go ahead and get started. Wow. Oh, I love how that sounds. Does that sound? That's what gives it that retro sound, right? Vini Vini Vici! Cool! Woo! Ow. Okay. Mark. Come on! Does this have like a Gen 2? A Gen 2 vibe, like ZEA K-pop sound. Okay, Perm. Oh my god. Oh, I walk on the path and they did a sidewalk, like in House. Come on. Wow. Guys, oh, when I tell you, boys will be boys, right? Look at that. Fireworks. We love it. We love it. Oh my God. That, like, about right there in the middle, you could see how it was shifting in me. There's a track. It's like, da-na-na-na, cha-dom, da-na-na-na, cha-dom. Like, it's from ZEA, Park Shin-hye's old K-pop group. And it's like called, I think it's like Hearts to Heart or something like that. I don't know if it's that or whatever, but that was such a Gen 2 sound. That was so awesome. I really, really like that, like the da-na-na, and like how they were all singing together, right? Gosh. Oh, how wonderful. That was so good. I really like that. I cannot wait for the dance practice to come out. And I think the one thing to note here, I think I'm not able to catch it like super, super often, but I do remember with La 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 La, Stray Kids track, they ended up doing a lock when they were talking about the word lock. And so here, they're talking about walking on a path. A sidewalk is a path on the side of the road that people walk on. And they were doing that, and it's a house move. So I love the fact that we kept that in so I could pick up on it with the English subs. So if they have a dance practice with the English subs, we'll turn them on and really try to see what else we can catch. But I love moments like that where you're doing a fundamental move with a name that derives from something that you're talking about. Like, that's cool, right? Oh, this was so good to listen to. Like, I'm still like, it's like a lingering feeling, right? Trigger was so cool. It definitely gave Super M vibes the way that their track should have been personally dropping. This one is like this little part of my brain that was in the Gen 2 with groups that I didn't really follow, but they had like these one-off tracks that I really, really liked. That's what that sounded like to me. Gosh, that just hits. Guys, if you're a Gen 2 fan like myself, please tell me what this reminds you of yourself, because that's what I'm going to say. I'm even going to attach on Patreon the link of what song specifically this song like resonates with me on. Oh man, this was so fun. Dance practice drop, which means we're here watching it. Let's go. This song has been on my Spotify for a second now. Okay. You guys may have picked up on that. The fact we didn't do any levels to help see. I think that was... Is that Kevin? To see one of our members in the back corner. This was going to be my point there. Nice. Really deep low tones are super fun there. Ooh, that was nice. Leave your mark. This we did get a sneak peek on from the music video. Cool. Okay. The slowdown was nice there to match. Fun there. Okay. He said deuces. Cool. I mean, I kind of feel it's a bit average, you know? I think, and that's really, I hate being the person to kind of say that, but, you know, we've spent a lot of time sitting in this chair tackling the boys, and I think the choreography structure is one where it's not highly predictable, but there's not a ton of not feature moments, focal point moments that really make it feel nuance to this track, and that's something that can be very helpful in the retention of movement to the track, especially if you do challenges or you have a choreo that you're like, oh, people associate this movement or this sequence to this choreo or to this track. Those kinds of things can help make it more memorable long term, that kind of connection. I do think there's not very many aspects of this that kind of placate to that. Is that the intention? I think more behind the scenes would need to be watched to really understand that. But I will say, when it comes to synchronicity, are we focusing on that with our new company? I don't know. From the looks of this here, it's not the same degree of synchro focus, which is fine if they don't want to focus on that anymore. I think that is absolutely okay. Free will, that's the beauty of it, right? And if the company's like, you ain't gotta be known for it no more, cool, then live your life, that's fine. But it is a bit average on the cleanliness side. It's not the cleanest thing we've seen the boys do, but it's also not the least clean thing either. I do think a lot of the course choices, I think it's just interesting. It feels incomplete. Like we have our content, but we didn't go back and fix the dynamic. I think it's that. So I am intrigued to talk about it. I mean, in general, the choreo is fine. Could it be because I do really like this song? It does have a heavy Gen 2 just flair about it. I do have a couple songs that it does remind me of, but it doesn't inherently, they're not even close to sounding the same, but they just hit the same part of my brain, which is why they get brought up. But I like in the beginning that you have two different groups of individuals getting ready to, box it out. Little things like I like that they're all hyping it up. Now, if we're actually counting, there's a chance that they're all a little bit too early. And this happens especially I noticed it in TAF classes. Sometimes you have classes that they just get ahead of the music because they're just trying to listen to each other, which is cool, but they're not listening to their music. So I'm curious if that's the case here. I mean, I don't know. I think jury's out on that. That's whatever. But at least we have one of our members keeping count, our ref here, getting ready. He says, come on. They do a nice little glove tap. And here we go. We have our first group come out. So I know that this is our version of, okay, he's calling the shots first off, right? So his press is fine. And then he ends up doing a nice little accent with the legs. And I like the speed change. Looks fun there. And the twinkle of the fingers is cute. Set it out from one side and then we drop the level. And I like that we ended up from our previous feature ending up looking at our new feature just a little bit lower as he stands up and moves through. That looks great. Verses I think are fine. I think it's the chorus that's really a bit underwhelming in the standard in which we are normally used to seeing the boys operate in. That's really where a lot of my average, above average, below average kind of statements come from. I feel more comfortable saying those when I'm in a marathon format because we've spent a lot of time seeing what their discography has to hold, what their portfolio looks like, and what their movement capabilities are. So, especially as the group that they are. So I like the little scuff where they have their feet, nice, not even a chug, but I'll call it more scuff with the arms placed up was nice. So we have a little group of 3, and then a little chest is fun, and then we do a little tap tap from one part of the neck to another. So I do know we have a lot of nuance and wordplay. I did catch the sidewalk step that we saw in the music video. I appreciated being able to see that and seeing the translation as such. There's always a chance I'm missing some key elements like that could help me appreciate it more. I understand that too. So then walking out, nothing crazy there. We end up taking our shoulders, a little chug on that, and then it looks like we're dodging. Like somebody's trying to hook us. We're like, nah, you ain't gonna get me today. It's fun. And they end up swinging that little right hook to get them transition out. Then you have a little, looks like we're creating a little shampoo or a little thread through from both arms, bringing them to the front. And we end up doing it both times, and then we go to the wrist, drop it down to the elbow, and then we end up scuffing, then we place it down, and we slide it through. So even here, that range, if you notice, that range was very different here, right? That's fine. It's this stuff, timing. It just didn't quite feel as discussed, I think. I don't know how long their prep time was. There's so many logistics that can go into that. I don't work for these groups. I don't work in these spaces in the same way that other choreographers do, or movement directors, performance directors. So that is going to be different. There's different stresses. There's different timetables for choreos, especially depending on the company. Certain companies focus on different things. Even if you're an established group moving on to a new one, which is the BOYZ case, which is really cool that we got all members on a new company, but you're going to run into those differences. And so it does make me just ask more questions and just become more curious, right? So the punch there is fine. I like the bounce on that. I think that's really interesting. And then it does look like we have some intention going on with the fingers. Maybe I feel like this is where a zoom in would really, this is where a moving cam would look fun. I mean, you could see is a cue, maybe. Yeah, and then they go up nice and slow, 3, 4. Then we have some subtlety going over, coming on from stage right. Ba-ba-da-da. They go from the back. That's fine. We walk to a new spot. I do appreciate a walk on tempo. Thank you. Fun little feature. Little hit them folks. Get them separated. Good add-on. Bringing it through. I like the little fold down. Bringing it across with the hips. End up doing just an opposite direction with the fist. Creating different options in the space is fun. The pickups are nice. Having everybody add in is cool. Having different directions also provides some depth to the formation, but still providing your feature moment. There's a little heel toe, which is fun. Not even like a heel twist or anything. Out in. Yeah, so I like you have various levels of everybody doing kind of the same thing with the rotation of the arms, bringing them in, but you have some of our guys with their arms a little bit higher, so it provides more levels, and then the only person that's not really doing that would be your center right here. And he ends up going back, so it's nice. You can still kind of see him. I like how he accents there, which is fun. Turn, let's go. The hop is nice. And then having your feature not hop there actually makes him stand out in a cool way. That's the example of when you have everybody go really big and somebody go really small, you're going to want to look at the small person. So it's cool. It's just funny considering he's one of the tallest members, right? Okay, so all this just goes da 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 da. So we're hitting on the actual rhythm of how the words are being spoken. So tone. So they hop up, they rotate through. I can pull 0.75. I think I'm going to catch more this way. I keep forgetting. I keep switching between the two. Anyway, so they go fly, so high. So notice we've already seen this move in that little small group over on the stage left side. It's not super repackaged either, but it is, familiar enough where it's okay if it's not like a completely different variant of what we had just seen. Now, if they keep doing that same move, it's going to feel repetitive or just a space filler, which is what you want to avoid, especially with the numbers that you have. There's a lot of opportunity. It's a large group. Large groups, you can do so many levels, so many transition, fun choices. You can focus on certain things that small groups don't have the privilege on unless they have dancers involved. They don't need dancers because they have each other, right? But that's just a little, preference thing we can chalk it up to. So they end up doing just a nice little hop to get us And a little fifth position is what I would call that. Maybe like a tiny fourth in the ballet world of things. So they have the arm going up, and then we place it down, and then we push the leg out, and then we do a subtle hat ISO out of that, which is interesting. Then it goes, ooh, like that's all really fun. Nothing crazy there. A lot of our choices are just more syncopated, taking one isolation that triggers another isolation to happen. That's what we're seeing there, which is cool. And it's like a little break off where you have some of your outside groupings here, right? So you have a little grouping of 5 and then 6 of them where they're still bleeding in from the previous phrase, which I really like, that they're not just frozen, but then you have your group of 5 break off. I think I was doing pretty good until we're covering up somebody in the back. I really feel like that's kind of a rookie mistake on the choreographer's part. That's just what it feels like. Why in the world would we not drop this? This is a prime opportunity, both in positioning where your weight is and in what they're doing. It's a movement that's getting us over to the side. You could so drop that. So I have no idea why we chose to just hide him in the back like that. Like, it's not like he's hinging over so much that we can see him peekabooed out, but that's I'm gonna call that a rookie mistake. I'm just gonna be honest, because BOYZ have been around for a hot minute and a half. We don't see that. There's no reason for that to be there. Even at debuts, I call that stuff out. You know, I don't feel like we're in a day and age where it's there's so much that the group is going to be held accountable to or held responsible for, even though it's not their responsibility in a lot of cases. And choreography is one of those things. I know a good example of a group getting under major heat, but it's really not the group's fault. More so whoever was in charge of the cleaning process. It was Ives Heya, because of a very specific transition that happened on Studio Choom. And even then, I have my own feelings about Studio Choom with comebacks, but I digress. My point being, yes, I know for most people it's like, Jess, it's not that big of a deal, but to me that can change how I view a routine if I'm seeing something such a basic thing be neglected. Having somebody from the back where you have a prime movement opportunity to actually have everybody overhinge or drop a level, I don't see that as a tough ask on a group like this. I think is kind of my big note that I'm going to give this. So call it sensitive if you may. That's just, call it a big old preference. That's fine. But I want everybody's bias to get their love and get their flowers. And I don't think he got a petal, not a rose, I think is what he needed there. Anyway, but we get to kind of see him there, but then there's so many of them when we always ping pong off. Feature representation, or how we reveal our features in groups like this, are really important and more of a priority than your average group, because it's a large group and we do switch off very quickly. I would say 17 is an example too. Now, I know a lot of people compare the two groups. I kind of try not to, even though I've analyzed both. They're in their own lane concepts. They have different comebacks, different company operations. It's a different village operating with the BOYZ compared to the village of 17, and that's fine. So that's why we try to pertain all of my constructive notes to what I've seen with the BOYZ specifically. So, and that's nothing crazy there. So I like the toe tap behind. It's nice. We do have some subtle house nuance in this, which I really like. Maybe we can entertain enough to give them the style, but they're not doing just like a whole house section, I think. Or it just feels like we're entertaining house, but we're not really pulling heavy vocab on it, which is fine to a degree, right? So that's fine. Then we'll pick up with the leg, turning around of it, turn so high, or fly so high, it's fine. And then we end up tapping behind, and then we switch it off, then we brush the arm. But once again, it's a range thing. I mean, that's more subtle than the last one that I was talking about. And when I talk about range, it's how you get from the accent points, or the points that you see in timing of a move, A to B of a move. So it's little things like that. Timing's fine, but it's range for me. And then they do a little body roll, and then they take the head over, and we tap it up. And even there with the head, some overshot it. It's just little things like that. Yeah. Ooh, 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 ooh. So I like the toe on that to bring it up. It's fun to ooh, 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 ooh. It's a vibe. We really like it. Now, talking about the point choreo, it looks like to be, some of our guys get there, in enough time, I think, but we end up having 2 of our guys split center, and then you have Julian in center there, go to the front to the back, and then they press it up. I like the usage of torso for that. They take our arm up and over, and it goes ooh, ooh, ooh. So it feels like we're switching off between the ha, ha, ha sound and the oohs. Preference-wise, remember, this is just one preference of many, and that's okay that I have these preferences, especially because of the amount of time we've spent with the group. Preference-wise, because this is the first time we're hearing this hoo 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 sound, and I do believe that you have this sound in the track before the who's are. But we're gonna double check. Yeah, it's in that chorus, which is why. I kind of feels like we're only recognizing maybe once or twice in the 8 count, meaning like movement, like a mini micro word or two of the phrase to the oohs. But because it's such an outlier outro to your course, but we're focusing on the a defined timbre already in the choreo or in the course, I think that's why that felt a little underwhelming, because it felt like we could have taken so much advantage of the hoo 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 hoo. Like we could have passed it off, we made a really cool dynamic choice, or really focused that content on the oohs, because it's not an interruption of the general flow, but it definitely is something that stands out or sticks out from what we've already been dealing with in the track. I think it's like little things like that, which is what make the course specifically kind of feel left to be desired for myself personally on a track like this with a group like this. So yeah, so all of this is like striking, you can tell, because of how they're pulling and pushing what they're hitting. So that's where texture comes in. If they're hitting and they're accenting, you see the speed, subtle speed changes, that kind of stuff, you're like, oh, they're hitting this on solid counts. Most likely they're hitting the bum, bum, bum in the back, because if they were going doon, 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 when they're hitting that, which they do hit, that is on the sound in question that I would have preferentially wanted them to focus more on. But that's more on the note of the choreography, not on the boys. Unless the boys choreographed it, then it would be my note to them. So I guess we got to go back to the phrase and actually talk about it. So it goes hit, and then we go out, in, and then we travel it up. I love this moment because it helps channel around the mouth. The mouth's making that ooh, ooh sound. So the little things like that, I do like. That ooh, ooh, and then we hit, and out, and then we travel it up. So it does feel like a repeat too, which is fine. That's fine. You're allowed to do that. And then they cross, and then they take the shoulder, accent it out, and then they do it. They end up doing it twice. Then they hit out, in, nope, out, in, wrist rotation. I do think another thing that I would say, preference note, is they ended up repeating in this section. Where all this, it's that little twist of the ball of the foot. But then they end up doing the cross out and cross out, which feels like it's neglecting the deviation from the oohs in rhythm, I think. Like it's disconnecting from the potential. Like there's so much potential that just fell short in our choices, I think, is what it is. And they go out, in, and then we just wrist rotate. Nothing crazy there. Feature. Which is fun. Ooh, ooh. There's some scissors. We'll step out of it. And then we bring it through, a little ball change. And then we punch. We do a little hook around to get a transition. And then there's that same move again. So I'm going to assume that's a fingerprint, because even the positioning of the legs is different. So we'll call it that. But this choice is the third time we're seeing it. With not a huge deviation with the legs or a repackage, which once again, that's a preference. I'm just saying a lot of my feedback is going to be tailored to my preference of this track. So then they do another wrist rotation. They end up accenting it up, and then they cross, uncross, wrists, and then they do a little turning of the arms. We've already kind of seen that too, because it honestly it's kind of pulling conclusion based movement, but we're not even halfway through with the song, so it already feels like we're recycling movement is kind of what I'm picking up on, because this rotation we've already seen in a whole little heel toe ball change roll through going over to the stage right side, and then seeing this ball change with the switch off. It's not a baracho. I don't know if I would give it that. Maybe though, because we have other house steps involved. And so, yeah, I would say, yeah. And that's so unfortunate too. Like I always feel bad when we're like caught up on a marathon and we're like looking at recent stuff, and I feel like I'm being constructive compared to like in the middle of a marathon, because I know I have room to find some really cool moments. But we just have to wait for the next track of theirs to see if we seek improvement in these areas. And the switch off on that was fine on the weight. We toss it, and then we present it out. Nothing crazy, switch over, and then we drop it low. So it looked like the same phrase, we just changed up timing. Nothing crazy unless the word play or how he's phrasing in lyrics doesn't really match that. Then they would just feel, once again, we're just teetering on recycling certain sequences in different ways, which is a time and place for. So we end up creating a little box with our torso, and then we drop low. I like the subtle level on that. I like the subtlety of him just resting there on another member. Nothing crazy there. And then he ends up taking the arm up, traveling it low. And then we have one of my guys just zoom out. And then I like the little fan kick out of it. They go forward, and then we pull away. So verses, I think, have more creative liberty. It feels like we have more direction, more storyline progression there. And it feels like we're forcing storyline on the course. So the same thing with these it's like a reverse uppercut, right? Where we're bringing it up and over. Those choices feel that it's the same thing that we saw on the stage left side, but now we're in center. So that's a good example of, I feel like, a proper repackage or a proper reinstating of a movement, because we've already seen it at this section, just in a different staging position, so. And then it does look like we're doing, the little cat situation right here. I think that's kind of fun. Take the leg over, hit with the snap. It's fun. And then we have some on layer, so in the air sweep, getting some tension in the upper body. Something crazy there. And they end up doing a little overhead? Yeah, out. No, I think they just took it up, and then they present out. And they bounce it. I do find it interesting. Why didn't we do a boxer bounce? Boxer bounce is a hip hop. It's a hip hop bounce. So it's out of anything, that would have been a really, really fun integration on this. But once again, that's just chalked up to, as much as I really like the sidewalk choice on using the lyrics, and we're going to see it near the end. Those are like little wishful thinking things whenever you have a concept like boxing. And then there's certain movements that have the name boxing in it, or it derives from inspiration from boxing in the street dance realm, which there is street dance hybrids involved in most K-pop choreographies. That is always something that it's more wishful thinking here, but I'm not going to sit here and expect them to do it. That's my point. It's just in general, just fleeting shower thought. Think of it that way. So now it's everybody. Oh, what are the fingers here? Is it this? So he's separating, which is cool. Oh, we're counting down is what I'm noticing there. Okay. There was some subtlety. Boom, dun, dun, da, da, dun, dun, da, da. So now it's everybody doing it instead of just a small group. Yeah, little party moment. I'm a little trio coming in hot there. So we end up accenting with the knee, shoving the arm down low, traveling the arm up. We knock the elbow to the hand, and we hit it up like a little hit to folks, but not quite. And then we have the arm. Some of us are here on the side, some are by the eye. Nothing crazy there, but it's just this reads different than this. It's especially with your shoulder and your torso direction. So then you have your arms the sway, and I like the bounce on it. Leave your mark. Even here you have some people that are using their torso to help more with it. Some are pulling with the hips. A lot of these things are things you normally tackle when you're known for synchro. Those are little details that help make your synchro cleaner, this is why I bring them up more with them, because they have been known as a synchro heavy group, synchronicity. So if anybody who is a fan of the BOYZ who know whether or not directionally they want to stay that route, or if they want to try a new artistic expression, which seems to feel like we may be going that direction, I am all ears for that, and I'm totally fine with pivoting in that direction to view their routines accordingly as well. But I'm only going off of the information I have, which is not a ton. Now, are they doing an entrance wave? Hold on. I don't know. It looks like we just scooped the ground. like to the outside. I don't think it was a true entrance. If it was, then I have some notes on traveling the energy through. But I'm assuming this is just a scoop down to get us to press up or just to reset up to the inside. Feature in the center. He tosses the arms to create a little ball change with our previous features. Cool. So we have a lot of feature opportunities where it's not the same as what I was mentioning constructively, but a lot of our features, it feels like they have their own freedom to how they want to approach it, and everybody else is being still to allow that to happen, so they can be subtle or be full, and we'll see it anyway. So I think that's interesting. I think that's fun. So they have the arm, and notice that we end up folding from the fingers, which I think is a cool choice. We turn out of it. 5, so high. Little scoop, yep. Same thing as before. They go da 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 lay. There's your tension with the pull of the hips there. Ooh. So it's the same part, but it's a different person and it's a different note, but it's the same context of note. This was my feature there. The only reason why I knew is because he opened his mouth and mouthed the words. I would not have known at all if he didn't do that. So that's going to be a note on feature reveal. Do something with the group to deviate them away, make him go the opposite direction, guide them in that, right? And this is the time where I would say that we have movement happening in the back. My eye wants to go here. It doesn't want to go where it needs to go, which is here. So give me as an audience member direction. Don't make me go in an Easter egg hunt looking for these members on when they're featured when. That should not be my job. My job is to enjoy who I need to enjoy when. That's your job as choreographer, right? And so that's why, for me, that's a note. And the same freaking part. I feel like we just completely dropped the ball on this 1-8 count. Honestly, it's 4 counts, but 4 counts can make a difference in a routine. We've seen that before. So we turn it over, a little toe tap around the back, and it looks like, man, it feels like we've had to modify or just figure it out, because I have no idea what this formation is. I'm assuming it's a V with somebody moving up to the front, right? It kind of gives that impression, but because we're out of room over here, one of my guys had to drop in the back. And so over here we have, man, it's just, that's unfortunate. Okay. Yeah, even this turnaround. So we're in a spot. It's not determined what this is supposed to be. If it's supposed to be a 2-part diagonal, we don't have, or sorry, a 2-part V, meaning that you have every other involved, which feels like we're entertaining that to a degree, but not really. It just feels like we are off on our formation. Part of it could just be the space of the room. I don't know, but it's nice to have a reveal in the back. That's a good feature reveal. But how he's being framed is not balanced, and we are having people hidden behind others. Either it's because we didn't block it before we ran it or what. But yeah, a lot of discrepancies happening here that you don't normally see with the boys, which is what makes me ask the questions I do. And then they turn out of it. And no, it's not because they were transitioning to a different formation. I really do think that at that point's when they're transitioning to another formation. So that should have been a very clear V, is what I'm going to assume that was supposed to be, because this is an example of a VV, because you have an inside V, boom, boom, and then you have an outside V with your point. So I'm gonna call that there. So they end up a little toe tap out of it, like that's fine, right? And then they stay there for about 4 counts, and they go to a new spot. And this section we're familiar with because of the music video. The drop down is cool. The wave is cool, fun moment. We love it. Give him his flowers. And then twinkling through on the shoulder. They rotate around. They in. And the step and step. The rigidness of that looks fine. They drop. And then we have 2 of our guys low. It just doesn't feel thought out. It could be that, like, getting to these formations, it felt like the formations were made, but we didn't think about how we were going to get there. Or that who is featured at what point, was it a consideration in the composition development of it? That's what this reads to me. Doesn't mean that's what happened, but based on the execution of this, that's what it feels like to me. Once again, none of my notes are really targeted at the boys. It's at the team that is kind of managing the composition here. And even then, we're going to give everybody slack if they need slack on it. We're all human at the end of the day, but I'm not going to ignore a lot of these really big red beacon, hey, this is something that we're not used to seeing, or this is why it may feel off to you, because it felt off to me, and I'm just trying to verbally process why that may be, because I love the song. So normally, when I hear a song that I really like, I would say Anteam's a great example. They had firework. The choreo was very clean, and their choices were very diverse and good dynamics. But I do think one certain element, which just shows you I'm a human, that really made me appreciate it was the fact that I liked the song as much as I did in a first listen. And so the fact that I'm aware of the song here, I like it. I would normally tend to like the choreo more, but it kind of feels like the opposite is being true here. So rotation on that, the lift up is fine, and then the twinkling in is fine, and we slowly come up. Yeah. It's just so fascinating. I don't know who choreographed this. I don't think this is Mihawk, is it? I try to go to Reddit. I try to go to Instagram. I looked around, and I don't know if the choreographers have posted yet or anything, but we're just gonna let it lie. That's life. But anyway, the push around that was cool. We're here for that. So a little moment out of that. How do we get here? Oh yeah, all this little bleeds up are fine. But then, like, it's all of these, like, just little stand up to walk to our next spot. Those are what's making me think we were not thinking and prioritizing transitions, which to me, that's what I love about fixed cams, is that whenever you're at concert or whenever you're, like, seeing it in a music show, you got it at the fixed cam perspective, even though most of the time people are going to see it from, like, a really fun camera shot. That's cool. I always like to go, hey, can the choreo stand the test of time just on a concert stage? Boom. To me, I think transitions could definitely improve here, or be prioritized, as well as feature reveals. They're a bit predictable or neglectful, but the song still slaps nonetheless. I like it because of, like I said, the Gen 2 nuance of it. It makes me intrigued. But the kick around the run out of it's cool. Yeah. So then he ends up pointing to the front. That is an indicator for me. Okay, he's gonna be my feature here. The little shoulder accents on that, super fun. And they're frozen there, coming from the back forward. I like how he tosses it. And then you have the watch me. That's a good example of a proper feature reveal, where you have one person deviates, he goes to the front, and then he passes it off back to the previous feature. That's cool. And now it's balanced. We're here for it. I do find it interesting that it could just be where our camera is, but this line is way more spread out than this line. I really do think it could just be our vantage point. That's life. But then we have a very similar walk from the back again. So it's kind of just felt repeated. Like, it was great, and then we recycled again. Man. And then we're recycling again with the 5-part small group, with everybody else deviating in either a speed change or being frozen. Yeah, so I'm going to call recycling on this, where we could have done so much more. I really do. Yeah, so the switch off on the fingers, and then the fold downs are fine. The crossover, bringing it up, and the little hook over is fine. He takes his arm, he presents it up. Nothing crazy there. Another feature moment out of that, which is cool. Then they hold it, speed change, which is nice. Yeah, fly so high. I like that we went on high instead of da 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 after. So I like that we actually used a word to switch it. And look, all of a sudden we have levels. Like, this, give me this like a minute ago, 2 minutes ago. And then we bring it up, and then we rotate from the wrist. It goes out, in, come on now. Then we end up doing a little chug with both of our arms out. And when we step it out, in, nothing crazy there. We cross, and then we end up taking the same. That doesn't bother me because we're nearing the end. This feels conclusive. This would be where you throw out a lot of your movements that you've been showing. This move right here, that kind of stuff here is where it feels appropriate because it's conclusive, right? You don't want to be reinstating or overly redundant in certain fingerprints that aren't repackaged enough to where it's just I don't want to feel like I'm reading the same sentence in a different way and I catch myself doing it. I want it to be the case where I'm processing a concept very, very well roundedly through the usage of wording something in a different way. I don't want to catch on that that's what's happening, and that's kind of what it feels like. So speed change is fine, but that's a little, I think they ended up there. That's where the sidewalk was happening. The turn is fine. Yeah, they hit, there's your sidewalk, and then they end up kicking out of it, and then they body roll on the tail end. So like, that's an example of, I don't know if that was a complete house phrase, but that could just be my lack of vocab or lack of phrasing. That's fine. The turn out of it's fine. You said, let's go. So now we have a little group of 3. Now everyone's frozen, going into an add-on. And the turn out of it, well done. And then we pick up the leg, so a little pickup. It does feel like we're doing a farmer sweep situation out of it. And walk forward is cool, but the walk forward you've already seen already from a V. That situation, right? And then we do an add-on again, but this add-on's in a different formation, so that to me, I'm like, okay, that's fine. The shoulders, that's fun. That was nice. Ooh, hoo, hoo. That's what we wanted to see. That reminded me, I feel like I tore into a Gravity choreo because it was Vinny Da Vici, My World. That one. Like, we cut off this beautiful, like, swingy, twangy run with just a bass. And I was like, just hit it. Anyway. Yeah, the sweeps are fine. That's what I wanted to see in the first chorus. Like, it's cool to see it here, but I needed that satisfied in the first chorus. Because then I just feel like, because that was the first time we had it introduced, right? So I think even the order could have improved. So we take it out, tension of the rotation on the chest is nice with the head on secondary is cool. He comes out, but then we come from back to the front. Look at that. At least we get to see him more there than wherever he was before. Then we end up doing a little heel tap. The arms out, and it goes fly, like we're presenting like an airplane. And then we do kick into a shuffle step. Or it feels like we're going heel dig, and we tap front, step it to the back, and then we press it up. Nothing crazy there. And then I like the pulse on that. It's fun. And then we swing it up. But even there, feels more individualized, which is life. Love. But even there, he was just mouthing the words. I wouldn't have been able to see him. I mean, maybe I could. He just did a single toss-up, so maybe he needed to take more ownership and actually do something a little bit more. But I was able to catch him enough, so we'll leave it alone. The hit with the arms pressed up. Nothing crazy there. We present our arms, and then we end up swiveling up and around. Range could improve there. The step, little chuck to the front, and then different directions. I see what's going on. Okay. It's where you have two of them go this way, and so you have your outliers, and then you have your outliers go to the inside here, and then you have a little grouping of 5, but I would say the spacing back there needs improvement. There's a lot of spacing issues in this. Yeah, like all that right there, there's why is that? Why is that happening? This is fine, super readable, but these two should be in the same... They should be next to each other, but they're so not. Like, it's an odd number. It's not an even number where you need to do that. I just have so many questions about this. Golly, okay. So we come up, and then we walk, then we end up doing a thread of the ground, and then he finishes, they're all on the ground. They're like, peace. Cool. So, I mean, do I think that this was the best choreo I've ever seen? No, it's not. I mean, I feel like there's a couple of choreos from the boys I can name off the top, such as Trigger, and I'll say Maverick's pretty freaking dope too, and then the Watch Me. Like, those little vibes, like, tailoring to those types of tracks were very, very effective. So, is it because we're pursuing, like, that more infinite, nuanced, Gentoo ZEA sound? Maybe that's fine. I think I just need to see a couple more movement to music tracks in affiliation with this era that they're in for me to have a more well-rounded opinion on what we're going for here, which I think is absolutely okay. The song is still great. This doesn't take away from the fact the song's on my Spotify and I really enjoy it, and it just hits that part of my brain I just really wanted to have hit for a while. But yeah, I'm not disappointed, but I do feel like there's a lot left to be desired when it comes to the potential of what it could be. The goal is for it to not be potential. It's supposed to be an elevation, especially if you're going from a previous company. The last thing you want to happen is you're not establishing, at least meeting the bar in which you left your company from in movement. Right? They're capable of it. I know they are because we've seen it, right? So, and it's not too far off from Trigger. So they were pulling heavy syncopated isolations, boogalooing fundamentals. I freaking ate that mess up. It was so fascinating. And then here we just kind of regressed in the phrasing, but I don't blame them for that. So anyway, take that as you wish. I had a lot of fun. Nonetheless, I'm excited for the commentary that we're going to have together. I am Jess, and I will catch you guys on the flip side. Bye.